Ian.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
There we go.
There we go. Ian, are you there?
I am.
All right, awesome.
There we go.
Well, Ian, now that we've got you on, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself as our newest commentator?
Hello, everyone. Ian, aka Mime Paradox. I'll be your Spanish consultant today, or something.
Oh, that's exactly what the stream needs. We need more consultants. But, okay, so, now to return this to, what was it? Oh, Sentai, yeah. I think it's probably just simply an accident of how World War II terminology and war language turned into media as Japan sort of recuperated from World War II, both governmentally, economically, both. Wait, you can only say two things with both. Anyway, how they recuperated governmentally, economically, and culturally with mass media. But it's appropriate given the overlaps between Sentai Kamikaze Fighter teams, the Handsome Men as a terrorist organization operating within a Japanese media construct that is fueled by an expatriate American who makes his home in the Dominican Republic. And that, I think, is what I have to say about Sentai. And also, it's, it starts out, Kamen Rider, I think, is popular, an older classic Sentai type cartoon, even though Kamen Rider is an individual, later transformation teams that whose powers are based in sort of like metaphysical or costume transformation, kind of like Sailor Moon is maybe like an offshoot of it. But most particularly things like it most accessibly to people of my generation, I think, is probably Voltron, and then later my younger brother's generation. Can 6 years be a difference of generation? I don't know, but anyway, my younger brother, Power Rangers and that sort of thing is probably the most recent exportation. Well, no, not even recent. God, my memories apparently stopped in like 1995, if that's recent to me. At any rate, so that's kind of what that is, and that's what the Handsome Men are for the uninitiated. So, Grant, Ian, do you have anything that you'd like to add to that before we go on with the cutscene?
I'm content with that as an introduction.
Okay.
I don't know.
We'll be learning more about the Handsome Men as we go on through the chapter, too.
I was thinking about sort of how they're like a Power Rangers parallel, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because it's also the most anime-ish aesthetic we have in the series just yet. Even though Sentai is more popularly known as something that's specifically live action. That's what I thought until you mentioned Voltron.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, actually. Something we had, Grant and I had talked about earlier regarding the use of animation styles. I find that this is probably the more dynamic of the animations, of the animation styles, because previously, I believe in, and this will tie back into what Ian said, but like previously in the first animation sequence during Sunset, it was largely a bunch of still scenes that were sort of like mildly animated. There were a few things like the guy getting shot in the phone booth, which were dynamic, and the window rolling down as I believe Harmon from a distance killed the dude. But on the whole, it wasn't the sort of comic booky action fighting kinds of things that we see in this one, and certainly not in. That's not like what we see in. What was the other one? That on the Andre Almeida show.
Cloudman.
Cloudman, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So going back to what Ian is saying in terms of like it being like the most sort of like overtly anime kind of trope, even though it is like live action. It's also the most dynamically animated out of the animated sequences. So whatever significance can be imbued with that, I don't know. I'm really kind of undecided onto what to make of the different animation styles. But let's see.
As are we.
What? White? Oh, weird.
Hmm?
No, it's like I totally forgot this. When you turn on the TV, you see the handsome men thing. I wonder if this is sort of like maybe one of the first parts where the game sort of starts to disintegrate from within. Because if I recall correctly, after the alter ego chapter, Harmon is just sort of gone. He's disappeared. And Harmon is sort of like in the anime format, and you can't access him through the television. Like, he ain't there. So that's, definitely a departure from what you've come to expect from the format of how the levels progress.
Does he appear again in the Harmon's rooms throughout the chapter, or is he gone throughout too?
Well,
not only in the is he there in the room? He is. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Ian, just since this is the first time you're on the stream, to give you an idea of like the time frames, what you see on the stream is going to be probably about 10 seconds after whatever I see on here, just because of the number of gaps that there are between the live gameplay and the time it appears on the stream.
It always makes for really entertaining moments, though.
Like when I scream with failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean I gotcha.
Okay.
10-4.
Cool. And Garcian just apparently goes off to find out his mission without getting any kind of overcommandment from Harmon.
Who are they?
Oh yeah, and even the mill
Mysterious
sequence.
group of guys who call themselves the Handsome Men? I've heard that they're designed by the military to counter the Heaven Smiles.
Okay,
But what's
yeah.
funny is that they look like heroes from an underground comic. ZTT Comics. Ever heard of them? Anyway, the hype about this comic is that the stories seem to cross over with the real world.
What's that got to do with Thunderson's assassination?
Well, you see, the story in the comic forewarned about the assassination before it actually happened. And 27 minutes afterwards, a news story about Thunderson's assassination was updated in the online game.
Who's the architect behind this?
Well, I know for sure that the bastards at the PR agency, Electro and Line Inc., are trying to buy over whatever character rights they can get a hold of. Not only that, they're spoiling the creative interest of that industry.
So those bastards are the targets?
Actually, the target is the comic book writer, Trevor Pearl Harbor. He's got a place down in the Dominican Republic where he does his thing. And sometimes you have to take the strong-arm approach.
Got it.
Oh, and before I forget... Look, the latest issue was released today. Last week it ended with Thunderson's assassination. Now, according to the last issue, there's supposedly a new enemy appearance in here.
Our master? He's...
Turned into a monster. Hey, wait a sec. This means that the next target is gonna be... the killer7.
Something else that's interesting is I think this is the first time that Mills overtly refers to the killer7. Yes. If you have you can have the audio on, but it's going to conflict with, it's going to
Yeah, because of the delay.
Yeah.
It's going to feed back into your mic.
What just happened there? The map that pulled out, that is a Japanese world map. It's sort of notorious that wandering in the Republic of Light and Shadow, Dominican, um, kill the comic artist Trevor Pearl Harbor in secrecy. But no, the map that it pulled out to is one of the very rare instances where we actually see a global map. It's particularly interesting because it's a known feature of cartography that wherever the cartographer is based out of, that is almost always going to be the location of the center of the world, especially as maps advance. Well, it's also true in medieval maps, but it becomes more pronounced in global maps. Nope, Oliver, down, buddy. It's also it's more pronounced in global maps because at that point it is a conscious decision. It's not just like with older medieval maps, it's kind of like, well, we live here and there's sort of stuff everywhere around us, and we're just going to kind of keep expanding the map in all directions. With the global map, it's pretty much known that these are the extremities. So it's a conscious decision, and it has an ideological implication that is the center of the world, the center of significance culturally, geographically, indeed globally. So it's interesting that the world map that it pulls out to is a Japanese world map because Japan is at the center of it. Whether that is simply an accident of this having been a Japanese developed game, and that is, that's sort of like perhaps a default. Oh, buddy, you better not. Okay, good. Cat talking.
About sorry.
No, I was talking to my cat, but so please go on.
So it seems that this is the first mission that takes place outside the United States, right? So
Yeah.
that would be the reason.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's also interesting that, I mean, the Dominican Republic is, I mean, if you were going to focus on like, you could focus on sort of like Atlantic area because it's Central America. So it's like, it's just, I don't know, it's really interesting that they pulled out and showed that world map from that perspective. And again, I don't know if it's like an accident, if that's sort of like where the developers' minds are because they're Japanese, or if that was like an actual commentary on the Japanese perspective in this sort of the thematic interplay between Japanese and American loyalties. But yeah. But so now we're in the Dominican Republic, and it is easily one of the more beautiful settings in this game, I think. Oh, and Ian, there is like a way that you can move the microphone away from the keyboard because keyboard typing input does come over the mic.
Okay, I'll just stop them because it's like integrated into the laptop. So.
Okay, sorry. These are just like little technical things.
Sorry, I'm back. I was away for a couple minutes
That's
dealing
okay.
with that dog thing.
That's okay. We just finished talking to Iwazaru, and he was pleased to have some R&R at last.
Well, it's a good place to do it.
Yeah, and he's actually he gets it. Something else that's really interesting. Well, hold on. Let me wait till the animation is over.
Oh, that's interesting. So the game is choosing. Oh, sorry.
Making out.
It's okay.
I'm getting by.
Hey, here's something extra.
Let me sing you a song. A song for travelers. This is a lost city. We must find the key. For your tranquility, deep within.
That looks so much attractive in animation.
Find your place, then you'll find your way.
And if I don't?
The darkness will swallow you, and you'll become a resident of the City of Smiles, where eternal darkness rules all.
When I'm gone, sing me that song, will ya?
And incidentally, Dan looks almost exactly like my sister-in-law's boyfriend, Robbie Cuevas. But yeah. Whoop, hello. Oh God, man.
See, that's the kind of thing that you can experience.
Whew.
Oh, and now I see it.
Yeah, they didn't really give me a whole lot of forewarning there. But no, yeah, it's really interesting that like they kind of like sort of like give a subtle nod to Dan being the yes, actually impressive sideburns and all. He's a sharp man. Um, but yeah, I'm responding to Grim Sweet for asking if impressive sideburns and all is a attribute of my sister-in-law's boyfriend, which I believe it still is probably. But anyway, it's interesting that like we've talked about like which of the Killer 7 has primacy, since all of them seem to have relevance in different contexts. And it's kind of come up time and again that Dan and Mask are kind of like favorites of the game. I know that in Hand and Killer 7, it is specified that in the like 500 years into the future, where the newest birth of the Heaven Smiles is, they're not laughing, they're weeping. So they're weeping smiles, and that's what they do. That's sort of, I guess, how they announce themselves. But Masked Smith is regarded as the dominant persona, which is interesting because he's not in this one. I think the fact that Dan is sort of like chosen as the focal character at the start of this does underscore the parallels between Dan's role as a sort of like leader of. Indeed, I mean, this is the relationship between the Killer 7 and the Sentai team is very very poignant because they are about transformation, and you know they're a team.
But this is the third chapter in which the game makes Dan the sort of primary avatar, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Because
is.
he's the primary in Angel and in Encounter, obviously.
Right. Well, he's the primary.
So I mean, it's fairly easy to say that Dan's the favorite just from that perspective too. I mean, out of how many chapters there are in the game, Dan has 3 of them,
Right.
which is
yeah.
a pretty significant majority.
Although he is sort of divvied up in Encounter because he's only the main one in Encounter Part 2. In Encounter Part 1, I think Khan is the main because of the kid/carnival thing. This is really interesting to me that color samples are these are your sort of key for the lock and key puzzle later on, and it's also that's sort of like how Trevor Pearl Harbor accesses how his domicile, and also that they sort of like appear to have some sort of circuitry on the design of the color samples themselves. So I think that's really interesting. Oh yeah, and something else that there's so much that sort of like in that Mills sequence, there's so much implied that is significant, but not. It's a very dense scene because Mills mentions that the comic book foretold of the assassination of the Democratic senator, and then 27 minutes there was an update in the online game, which kind of hand in hand presupposes that there was a scenario already created and programmed and designed, so that it was an expected thing. But at the same time, this is a world in which, and this is taking information from Hand and Killer 7. This is a world in which digital technology has been sharply controlled and sharply curtailed. It's one of the reasons why Andre Almeida's company, First Life Inc., is so successful because it calls itself a distribution company. Because in the absence of digital communications in a world that had grown used to the internet, mail system and mail communication was the only way that information could circulate. And his was one of the leading. He would circulate catalogs for products that didn't exist. The catalogs themselves, I think, also were some sort of vehicle of communication, perhaps on a level of espionage or some level of innuendo and secrecy. But so that is reflected. It's sort of one of these invisible. I don't want to say invisible things because Hand and Killer 7 portrays a lot of contradicting and conflicting scenarios, but it is sort of texturally present if unsaid, in other parts of the game as well, and that there is an online game hits up that there is an otaku subculture that there's an otaku subculture which is again ambiguously aligned in terms of U.S. Japanese sympathies, and that they are allied with the handsome men as an American trained fighting force, and that the handsome men take the form and media of Japanese superheroes. Again, sort of, it's just this big tumbleweed of alliances, of identities contained within identities. But so that's when Mills mentions the digital online game. That's why that's significant, and it actually comes up later with the Hajime showdown between the Killer 7 and the Handsome Men as being represented as an online game. So all of that is to imply that there is underground secrecies involved in the sort of like subculture surrounding the Handsome Men. Because even though the comic book can be bought on any newsstand like Mills did, the game itself is a verboten extension of that. That I would guess is engineered and maintained on servers or something outside of the U.S. I don't know. But I think that is the only other main textual thing of that conversation that's significant. And this is Trevor Pearl Harbor, easily the most ambivalently portrayed character, in part because he looks like he's got kind of a fairly manly man build of a robust chest going down to a slender waist, and he's pretty much anything but when you encounter him. He's also voiced by Steve Bloom, and
I can't even really tell what that's a picture of. That's a really weird. Oh, okay, I see it. Okay, the cell shading is just odd.
Yeah. There's.
It suddenly clicked in my head.
Yeah, here's the collar.
That doesn't look like what he turns out to look like at all.
No, exactly.
I recall.
He looks like he probably swills gamer fuel and doesn't exercise, and yeah. Damn the man.
I mean, he's not even wearing anything like that when we see him, right?
I think he's wearing. I think he's got like a white shirt.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's similar enough, but again, it's not even against a visible background like the others were. It's sort of it is a Grim Sweeper notes it looks a bit like Harmon, which is interesting. I kind of see that. It looks like young Harmon as you encounter him later.
Yeah, I can see that.
Whoop, let me bring that back up. These are the color samples that are your excuse me, key to Trevor's mansion, and it's really neat because I think I just now picked up on this, that the colors on the left here these are what the values within the color numbers here, the red, green, and blue, what they amount to. And here, obviously, between the handsome red and the color red, there is equivalence. So that key is essentially complete, and the color values for these two will not impact that. However, down here with handsome, was it handsome white? I don't remember, handsome pearl. Anyway, obviously white is.
Yeah, I think handsome pearl, right?
That sounds right. But yeah. Oh, okay. No, hold on. Sorry.
Oh, wait. You know what's interesting? Maybe I'm just completely remembering wrong because I'm misremembering this chapter in general, apparently. But there's an 8th handsome man, right, who dies.
Yes.
And he's not included in this list right here that we're looking at.
No.
There's only the 7 that you confront in the end.
You're right. I think that's handsome dead. I kind of want to say, like handsome dead.
I think it's handsome black. I think handsome dead is the red goldish one, the second from the bottom.
Oh, this right
I think
here?
that's Handsome Dead.
Well, maybe so.
Or the brown one, 2 up from him.
Hmm.
Because I remember that Handsome Dead is the one who's paired off with Kevin, I think.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Handsome Black is the one that dies in the scene. But it's just interesting to me that he's already excluded from this list.
It's something else that's interesting. Well, down here, obviously there have been no color samples acquired that will equate to Handsome Pearl's color, so it's completely black. It's the opposite. And what's interesting, I've never thought about this before, but this makes perfect sense. Remember how I observed that these were like circuits? If you'll notice here, the color values that add up to a significant value, it's interesting. Like here, with Handsome Red, for example, here there is a partition, and over between green and blue there's another partition, which would suggest that the circuit does not connect. That and perhaps that whatever is over here is that there is a final culmination. But as you go further down with different colors, the circuits connect. Like here, there is no partition, so blue and green will combine, and and I'll be really interested to see how the value input at the gate reflects this, because I'm going to hypothesize that when you get to that section, that there's going to be a special relationship between the colors that do not have a partition between them, because there's no partition here, no partition here, none here, and absolutely none whatsoever in Handsome Pearls. So whether there's significance there, I don't know, but it does hit up the circuitry, that there is a circuit being created, and that breaks in the circuit could relate to the final accumulation of color value that appears there. Huh, neat.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill me some things.
I'm shocked. In a game called Killer7?
Yeah, I know. It's I call it my style, shooting things in video games. This is one of the few areas, I think, that is sort of kind of swallowed in silence.
Is it silent? There isn't music right now?
No, there's no.
I'm not hearing it because I have the...
Right, I totally went backwards. That's why there's nowhere to go.
Oh.
Yeah, Ray in chat notes, Handsome Dead could be a fashion show on Bravo, and I kind of think that would be a really neat extension of the whole, what is it, Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen, and what is it, the fashion show thing? Project One Way, yeah. Like if you just got, and this is thematically appropriate for given Suda Goichi's background, if you had a bunch of like not pallbearers, but morticians, and it's like you had a contest to see like who would survive like 9 grueling weeks of elimination, and they have to like paint corpses. I mean, I'd watch it. Oh, weird. See, this dude's face does not look anything... Well, I can't select Coyote, but this guy's face doesn't look a whole lot like, what he looked like in the...
Wait, is that... no, I guess it's not. Young Harmon's face?
I don't think so. I mean, it is to the degree that with the style of Killer7, there may be only so much variation that you can achieve. and the lights.
See, I think the most that I recall of this chapter is sort of the general look of it, but
Well, it is.
it's
I mean, it's
hard
almost.
to distinguish in memory sort of how it unfolds as you play through it.
It feels
I mean, the level design and such.
right. I kind of don't remember that very well myself.
Wait here.
Uh, oh man. Con is going to be valuable here. I'm pretty sure. Grant, do you remember the name of those heaven smiles that were bound to the spikes and had the excuse me, had the sort of like there were some sort of like impalements in their eyes and they shot lasers at you?
Aren't they laser smiles?
Yes. Go to hell, Grant. Yeah, the laser smiles. They populate this corridor that Khan has to go through. Yes. I love every show of strength that Mask Smith shows. Yeah. All that trouble just to get to Iwazaru.
It's especially convenient that the barrel just disappears when it cracks in half.
This is interesting because previously Iwazaru gave me only red color samples. That was a disconnected circuit. So I wonder if the only red color samples that I got before were the red samples that did not connect to other circuits. Because here there's a blue and a green one, and I'm really interested to see if the ones that get populated are a specific connector. Because I remember that there were two colors that had no partition between green and blue. So I'm really interested to see right now if...
Yeah.
Oh God. It just... I heard a laughter. Okay, yeah. If you look here, the color samples that have no partition between the two of them, these are now filled in.
Yeah.
So...
But none for Pearl.
But look. Yeah, because for Pearl, it's going to have to be one that's...
Would be a red would be attached.
Right, and it's really interesting that if you look at the colors here, I want to know what because some of these number values are white, and this one here is grayed out.
Yeah,
and
I'm assuming it's because there's an insufficient number.
I wonder. Well, I mean, here...
Or is it the opposite? When it's white, that's when it's sufficient, and when you've got enough, that's when it goes gray.
I wonder because, like here, like I've got enough for Handsome Dead, or Handsome Brown rather. I'm sorry. I've got enough for Handsome Brown, but the red value is grayed out, and the blue and the green are white. Similarly, up here, for Handsome Red, it's grayed out. I don't understand that. Whereas for Handsome Blue, it's white, but the green is grayed out. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe a pattern will emerge as we get further along.
Yeah.
I mean, a pattern might already be emerging, and I'm kind of too dumb to see it, but whatever. It's sort of lovely to me how they continue trundling towards you idiotically once you blow their head straight off. Oh God.
That's dedication.
Oh God. Ah, from behind.
See, that's the kind of excitement that you get to experience because of the delay.
Man. I think it's interesting how the gradient here also, you know, as the further up you go, it retains this sort of like when you're really high up, the skybox is sort of has this horizontal white line running latitudinally across the screen. It kind of gives an idea of like the glare and the heat. I don't know if heat is necessarily what's implied, but certainly the severity of the sunlight.
Yeah. It actually gives me an impression of an unfinished painting.
Hey, that's really interesting, especially given what emerges later on. Oh no, I'm not ready for this. I mean morally. And I mean morally in a 19th century sense. I don't have the courage. Oh God! It was horrible. Okay.
That's what you came back for?
I thought that that there was another passageway there that I could access, but apparently, and okay, I want to look at the names of these places. We can afford it.
Oh,
Back.
well.
Oh shit.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, for part 2 of Alter Ego, I think it's pretty much just that fight in, like, New York City Square. So we can probably, you know, take our time a bit through this too, and it won't. I think we could probably do the entirety of Alter Ego. But
yeah, I'm pretty sure that part 2 is just the handsome men fight. That there's nothing else whatsoever to it. What could there possibly be? Is my memory that horrible?
No, I think that's correct. Now this area is called, as soon as it loads, Lost Town, and going back through.
And that area was something of the commons.
Back of the compound is what.
Oh, compound.
I think that's what it said. It looked.
Or componite? What?
It looked.
It went by too quickly. It looked strange. It didn't look like compound.
Yeah, it looked like it ended with an E.
It looked like it ended with NITE to me. But
well, maybe we'll be able to pause through later.
Yeah.
Yeah. But actually.